the other recording is an entirely different time?
Date, time, location, absolutely. And there's two, like I said, one's grand jury sworn testimony and one's probation officer.
So my understanding of 106 is that it's if a part of one recording comes in, then in fairness, if the other party seeks to introduce the redacted or unintroduced part of the same recording in order for it to give a complete picture, that can occur. But I don't know that that means an entirely separate recording from an entirely separate date with entirely separate people communicating. So if you have law that indicates that, then I'll consider that.
So it's OCGA 24-1-106, I'm quoting. When a writing or recorded statement or part thereof is introduced by a party, an adverse party may require the introduction at that time of any other part or any other writing, recorded statement, which in fairness should be considered contemporaneously.
All right.
So if I'm reading that wrong, I apologize.
If those are the words, then you might have a good argument.
Okay, I just want to bring that up since you're asking for issues.
All right. And is the state, I haven't heard the contents of that phone call yet anyway.
You're right. I think that we can discuss with Mr. Steele the parts that he's discussing. I believe that we can come to an agreement on what is not, the parts that are not relevant in that phone call. And if we can't come to an agreement, we can bring it to the court. But I think that we can
Okay, well, I don't know that his objection is simply relevance. I think he has a relevance objection to parts of it, but say in other parts of it, if there is something potentially misleading and there are other recordings that establish, that it actually mean what it sounds like it means, then he would seek to introduce those other things that would clarify that.
Yeah, so my understanding, if it's the call that I am thinking of, and if it's the call that was discussed yesterday, and I would need to listen to it again, I believe there's an inference as to Mr. Kendrick. I believe that in that call, and if it's the same call, and I'll need to just confirm that Mr. Bradford or Mr. Arnold calls Mr. Bradford while he's in custody. And at a portion, Mr. Bradford is with Bushi. Mr. Arnold asked Mr. Bradford, where is Yak? And Mr. Arnold responds, we're waiting for him. Mr. Bradford or Bushi, Ms. Morton, says we're waiting for him. And they were talking about Yak Gotti. So I don't know. I will need to listen again and see if there's any other reference to Mr. Williams, and I will listen again to make sure. But my understanding is, and if this is the call that that was discussed yesterday, then I need to listen again and see if there's a reference to Mr. Williams and being at the McDonald's, because my understanding is of the call is a little different, which is the only reference is Mr.
Then y'all just
Kendrick.
Take another listen to it and get together on that.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and y'all can present if you resolve, great. If not, we'll present whatever the issue is after y'all both had an opportunity to listen to that. And if necessary, whatever part of the grand jury recording might then be relevant.
And excuse me, Your Honor, and I apologize, since I wasn't here yesterday. Are we still litigating whether that call comes in?
Yes, we haven't made any kind of determination about that.
Okay.
In fact, Mr. Howell, I think, asked that we hold off until you were present. So we just sort of, mapped out broadly what the issues might be, but we haven't listened to the call or made any kind of determinations about it.
Thank you,
And
Honor.
it sounds like we'll hold off on that for a little while anyway, and it may or may not end up being necessary to litigate anything about it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so do we think I guess the Dropbox with the evidence is on witnesses 31 through 60 is that going to track sort of this witness chart that we were going through yesterday?
It should be, Your Honor. I thought, if my memory served me correctly, that we finished up to 60. We had
I
completed
thought we
60.
had two.
We did. We completed 60 and we were at the
Yeah.
final group. Yes,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Okay, so, all right, so we were kind of using this chart yesterday. So to determine, okay, are there things that we need to litigate? So if we're
Yes,
going
Your
to
Honor.
just continue along with that, and then if there are things we need to litigate, then we'll jump to that Dropbox link and pull up that evidence. Is
Yes.
that the suggestion?
Yes, Your Honor. And I'm searching to see the date that we sent the Dropbox link so everyone can find it. No. Yeah, I think it might be August 27th, but I just wanna- Yes, it's going to be on August 20. Oh, yeah, it should be August 26th, and we sent it around 11:42 PM. And if it's not. Let me make sure. Okay, I don't think that's the right one. You're on.
Avenger videos is what the reline is? Is that what you said?
Of course you don't.
Oh, yeah, she was saying she didn't think it was the right one either. This thing is to just resend it.
created. I can't find the email, but I'm just gonna resend the link right now.
Uh, I, yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. I just sent it, so it should be coming soon. Yes, yes.
Ms. Hilton, it looks like it needs a password and that wasn't in what you sent me just now.
Okay, hold on.
I don't think it's in what you sent anybody. Because Ms. Percival just forwarded what you sent. So I think we'll all need that as well.
All right, hold on, my Dropbox link savviness isn't. Okay, I'm going to resend it. I found the email. The email was sent on the 30th. I believe the link will be in this email that I'm about to
Okay.
forward to everyone.
And the password.
And the password.
Okay. All right, everybody's got to get a different email that'll have the password also.
I just forwarded you.
Okay, this starts with Adrian Ansart.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Is everybody in there now?
the folder because it related to Officer Rogers.
Okay, so those, you probably wouldn't tender those anyway, and if you did, they most likely would not go out to the jury.
Yes, Your
and
Honor.
Probably wouldn't be displayed. Okay, is that sufficient?
Okay, and looks like there's probably about 3 hours of body cam. My understanding of the body cam is at least a portion of it contains the actual altercation between Officer Rogers and Mr. Eppinger, which I understand, but is there any other purpose of the body cam that they would be seeking to introduce in this case, or the state would be introducing in this case?
So the portion of the various body cams that the state intends to introduce, one, yes, the interaction between Officer Rogers and Mr. Eppinger, then portion of the interaction between Sergeant Johnson and Mr. Eppinger, and then a portion of the apprehension of Mr. Eppinger. But that probably in total is less than an hour. I would think if it totals 30 minutes, but it's probably only about an hour total of all the different body cams in this case.
At some point, can we just get the times that you're seeking to introduce?
Do you have those now?
I don't have them now, but it's quickly for me to get them. If not by the end of the day, I can definitely get it to them by early next week. The various timestamps and the various body cam videos.
Okay. All right, so you'll get them the timestamps so that they'll know if they feel like that's the reasonable and relevant portions or something more than that. All right. And then I guess the same with whatever the other medical record is.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
And if we're moving on to the next folder, Sergeant Erin Brown, she is only bringing in Officer Rogers' body cam as a custodian of records, given
Okay.
the trauma of the incident. Officer Rogers, we're not going to bring the video in through Officer Rogers, but through Sergeant Brown. So that's what her folder would entail,
Okay.
which would be the body cam video.
All right. So on to Sergeant Johnson then. What all is this?
So that is the overall surveillance video of the entirety of the interaction with Mr. Eppinger in both.
All right, McKessie, is that how you say that person's name? McKessie.
And he falls into the same category with the body cam. He's that last portion that I referenced, and so we'll get the relevant timestamps.
I'm confused. What's he doing that?
So he was a part of the apprehension team. So once Officer Rogers was shot, he was taken to the hospital by other officers.
Yeah.
And so later when they went to get Mr. Eppinger, McKessie's involved in that portion of the video.
So under the Rogers folder, the part that you said was the apprehension of Eppinger, that's not actually, whose body cam is that, or what is that? Or is it the same thing, just under two separate witnesses? I mean, you had mentioned with the Rogers file, the interaction with Eppinger, Johnson's interaction with Eppinger, and then the apprehension of Eppinger. So is that actually going to be coming in through McKessie, the apprehension part?
The apprehension part is coming through McKessie, but what we've done is all of the body cams are in one evidence.com folder. And so we,
All right, so, but that's the same thing in two different
two different
places.
folders.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so you'll get us those timestamps. All right, then we move to Captain Wofford. And what's this about?
So Captain Wofford. Yes, okay. That is the surveillance video for the stabbing of Mr. Rayshawn Bennett. And it shows the entirety of that interaction between Mr. Myrick and Mr. Bennett.
When you say surveillance, I'm seeing, correct me if I'm wrong, Captain Walford is the gentleman who came in. Captain Walford is the gentleman who came into the pod after the altercation and was wearing the body cam?
Yes, but he's also able to serve as the custodian of the Pelco system, which is the jail surveillance system.
Okay, but the in this folder, the Axon stuff, that's Captain Walford's.
Yes.
Okay, and so we'll make sure that you will make sure that this is not cumulative.
Yes, Your Honor, because the body cam video is only once the stabbing occurred. The
Okay.
surveillance shows everything leading up to the stabbing.
Okay.
And Your Honor,
Mm-hmm.
my other concern now, I'm going off of my prior review of this.
Mm-hmm.
My recollection and belief is that Mr. Bennett on these body cams doesn't say a whole lot, but at this point, my understanding certainly is Mr. Bennett is not testifying in this case. So I just think we have to, and I'm going to ask the state to make sure that anything that they seek to introduce to these body cams does not contain testimonial statements concerning the events that had occurred.
Yes, I think what's on the video, we would argue would be excited utterances because it's a lot of once he was stabbed. I don't believe he made any statements to the police regarding who did it. And so our intentions would not be to introduce anything like that. It'll be primarily once he's apprehended, more of the excited utterances and present sense impression of Mr. Bennett at that time.
All right, well, so I guess you need to make sure of that.
Right, I don't,
And it may be that you think it's one thing and they think it's another. So we might need a little more specificity about what's coming in.
I don't
could discuss it.
recall him saying too much, but he was definitely being spoken to and asked questions by law enforcement about what happened. So anything he said from our stance would be testimonial. But I don't recall at this time him making any statements. But
Your Honor, we can look at it and talk about it and see if we can come to an agreement. And if not, we can bring it to the court's attention. But I think it's something that we could resolve short of having to have the court intervention.
Okay. I mean, these things like the disciplinary hearing dispositions and things, those are just in there Because maybe somebody might need to refresh their recollection about them or something. I mean,
Yes, Your Honor, these aren't things we intend to introduce, especially if Mr. Bennett is not going to testify. If he ends up, then that'll be a different story for a different day, but.
all right, well, the defense, y'all have had this evidence in this format under these witness folders for a while now, so it's also incumbent upon y'all to take a look at it and be prepared to say, well, there's, absolutely no way evidentially that XYZ should come in if that's what you think. But yeah, it would be helpful for us to not have to litigate stuff that the state doesn't really intend to put in to.
Your Honor, I would.
Yeah.
So there's a surveillance video, as you know, and then a body camera, the law enforcement comes in thereafter. Anything outside of that at this point, I would be objecting to. It's my strong memory that Mr. Bennett did not make any statements to law enforcement. If he did, it's confrontation clause if he doesn't testify. So anything other than those two items, I would be objecting, if that helps.
All right, so Miss Hilton, take a look, and if you think there are some statements that are shown on any of that body cam of Mr. Bennett that you believe come in as, a cited utterance or present sense impression, then, and you intend to introduce them, then you can maybe call that to our attention and we can make a decision on that. Okay. Where are we now? All right, have we already? Okay. So if the defense, y'all kind of seem to be, I don't know if y'all are, I don't want us to be doing a real-time evaluation of this amount of evidence. If we're ready to litigate these things, great. But if we're not, y'all just let me know that.
I've reviewed the wiretap from Mr. Sumlin, but I have not reviewed specifically what the state has pulled out, so I need to do that.
Okay. Is that kind of true for everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Could I ask one question?
Yes.
In this folder that appears to be a bunch of audio files, the first folder under Sumlin, am I correct in my belief that that is all the calls from the wiretap that you all seek to introduce at this time?
No, so these are the calls from the wiretap, primarily looking at the ones that we identified for the co-conspirator statement. So some of these will probably be reduced by the co-conspirator statements once we reduce those as well. But this is just a duplicate of that folder.
Understood. So it may shrink.
Yes, yes. And we would have identified all the Sumlin calls once we finish with the co-conspirator analysis.
When are you gonna finish that?
That's what we're working on, that the court asks us to have a reduced list by next week.
Okay. So do y'all maybe want to take today to work together and or separately on a whole lot more of this stuff? Okay.
Yes, I think that would be beneficial, Your Honor, and
All right.
productive.
All right, so I don't want y'all to leave and go home and do something else. I want y'all to stay here and work, okay?
Yes.
All right,
Stay in the
so,
courtroom, or can we stay in our office and work?
you know, I mean, whatever is easier. If it's easier to sit here together and say, you know, things like you've been saying. So, hey, I'm looking at this. Is this what it is? And is this going to be the entirety of it? Or are you going to narrow it down, or what are the timestamps? I mean, it might be a good idea to just sort of, and the defendants can go back, but the attorneys sort of, you know, review evidence together. Yes.
Maybe my colleagues are gonna throw some tomatoes at me, but if the defense attorneys could maybe take a certain amount of time in our little side office and go through, and then maybe either all of us or some representatives could meet with the state at some point today and discuss where we're at. But as I understand it, the information that we would be reviewing on our own would be the contents of this Dropbox minus the wiretap stuff.
Yes. That's fair. Yes.
And we're not going to watch as a group that all the Axon folders. We're going to wait for you all to give us direction on the timestamps on the body cam stuff.
Yes.
All right, and I don't mean just this folder. I mean folders, you know, whatever this is, 52 through 103.
I meant the Dropbox.
Yes.
The entire Dropbox.
Okay, yeah. And to the extent, I mean, we didn't have the Dropbox for 31 through 60 up yesterday when we were walking through those witnesses. We were doing something more general than that. But when y'all get through all of this through 103, if you want to jump back and just make sure we covered everything on those others, you know, do that as well. But then I think maybe the next time we get together, it'll be more productive. Okay, so I'm gonna adjourn us from our trial for the day, and the defendants can be returned unless y'all feel like you need them. But it doesn't, this seems more like attorney work to me. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong.
After consulting with my colleagues, I think we are okay. We are fine with if just the attorneys remain and the
Okay.
clients are allowed to return
Okay,
back.
all right, so let's do that. And then today's Friday, so we will reconvene, let's say, Monday at 8:45. All right, and y'all spend the day being productive and with your unexpected extra time. All right. You're welcome. And so will we be able to leave?
Plea deal situation, didn't really want to be there to testify. He was on the stand for several days, so it might be a situation where we get a piece of how he's dealing with love on direct, and then we can skip to cross. But we could do a stream if you wanted to, or you could be like, Kat, we're tired of you, go away. Either way, around 6 p.m. Eastern is the YSL Friday night panel. The live event isn't scheduled, so just sub to Nick Starro and you'll be able to see when he actually starts that at 6. Oh, we could do the state Senate hearing if you want, the Georgia State Senate hearing. Okay. Let me get that ready. Trying to see who gave you the gift, but if you're not paying attention to the stream or the stream's moving too fast or you just see an email, it doesn't tell you who gifted the membership. So Felicia's like, well, I don't know, and just came in and gave 10 more, which is super generous, very sweet, and I love to see it. It's my favorite feature on YouTube, and love you too. So thank you so much. You guys showed Felicia so much love for that. And then Felicia had also said for the 5, thank you for the appreciation, Tamika, staff, and Factual Lie. So you guys know the deal. Always mod love in the chat. You could shout the mods out anytime in the chat, but sometimes we like to call extra attention to it with some mod love. And I see people saying, I want a gift. Make sure you click the little like money symbol where you type and turn the setting on to allow gifted memberships. You won't be able to get one unless you have that setting turned on. Once you turn it on one channel, you're good anywhere on YouTube. So Felicia, seriously, super, super gracious of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. So generous. La Mustache Wipe Gang. Aw, cute picture. Says, good morning, gang. Friday the 13th. No jury, no, no G-Love all day. That makes me think of the music group G-Love and Special Sauce. Miss Love and Nut Juice. Good to see you. No, we're going to call an audible and watch the Georgia State Senate Special Committee. It's going to be a good time. Opposite of Amnesia says Hilton better be careful. If she gets too much done and makes love look bad, she'll be next for RICO. Maybe my own PTSD from work. I kind of understand. I think that's a real phenomenon, right? And it's like it's a positive feedback loop in a bad way. You do too much and then suddenly you get all the expectations on you. So, sometimes you need to find a balance. So very interesting, very interesting. And I really do think Hilton will be more productive with this time than Love would be. But we'll see, guys. Monday, can you imagine if the state is late on anything that was due Monday? And they've had yesterday and today for extra time to do their homework. Because Love was asking for longer than Monday. So we will see. Thank you so much for the 5. China Eyes is sniping people out here. China Eyes said, look, I'm going to make someone a member. And then that person 2. And then that person 3. So shout out to China Eyes. And look at us both rocking our caps. Love to see it. Thank you so much. Sonia says, literally making up the case as they go along. For 2 years. For 2 years. At least for the case itself, not the investigation. It seems like they were doing it since the investigation, too. Michelle Warden says, absolutely great chat. Love the chat. Please hit that like button. Thank you for the 2, Michelle. Always good to see you. I like to hang out with you in other chats. It's good to see you here. Mason Martin became a member. Shout out to Mason Martin. Welcome to the gang. Ike said, and I'm glad that this wasn't actually a glitch where it came through 3 times. It seems like it's only 1. Morning, Cat and chat. Shout out to the mods. Heck yeah. Casper's going to be Professor Xavier. Jason Hodges is Wolverine. Love that. Factual Lie is Cyclops. Steph JK is Jean Grey. Leia is Jubilee. And the others we still need to do some nicknames for. That is awesome. So now we have a chat gang with X-Men mods holding it down for us. Thank you so much for your continued support every day and great commentary, Ike. That's what Leigh said. It says on April 11th.